All right. Hello and welcome everybody to MCU ATL's Beam Stream. Thank you to everyone who's tuning in right now and interacting and commenting. We definitely love and appreciate you guys. And of course, thank you guys that will be joining us on our rewatch. Uh, Last episode was actually our most watched. So we appreciate you guys tuning in and rewatching and sharing. So thank you very much to all you guys for that. For the new viewers, MCU ATL, we are an Atlanta-based Marvel Cinematic Universe fan club, and we started out doing movie screenings and the like fan screenings and fan events, and now we are, of course, coming to you guys with bi-weekly with the Beam Stream. And Beam stands for Broadcast Examination of Art and Media. So I'm Leonard, and joining me is the rest of the Unit 1218 squad. And today we will be covering episodes 2 and 3 of Marvel Studios' The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So without further ado, we are going to hop into a recap of the episode 2 with Bleaku handling those duties. So take it away.
So hard. Someone is breathing really hard right now.
Uh-oh.
I
Yeah.
just Darius. I know it's Darius. Yeah.
Get that mic away from your mouth.
Like if you're not speaking, mute.
He's doing his Darth Vader impression over there.
We have not entered the After
I've
Dark.
seen Phone Caller. I don't
Right.
know. It just got
Falcon
weird.
After Dark is the next show.
Okay, so episode 2, The Star-Spangled Man, aka Not My Cap. Anyway, fresh off the travesty of a cliffhanger from episode 1, we get the reveal of Diet Cap Zero. Yes, I'm nicknaming him. I don't know when we started doing Pixar crossovers in the MCU, but here we are. So we start off in a locker room with John Walker having a conversation with this lion woman because she tells him, "They're gonna love you, sweetie." And false, we do not. Anyway, after a couple of pep talks from his friends and some really bad rehearsals, we get to endure this man in his diet cap suit at what appears to be an inauguration, complete with a pretty awesome marching band. He does an interview on GMA or Good Morning America where the host tries to sell him via his credentials. So cut to Bucky, who is also channeling my outrage and decides to confront Sam about giving up Cap's shield. Of course, while he empathizes, there are bigger fish to fry. Sam debriefs Bucky about the Flag Smashers and they have a nerd off, which of course, Bucky the hipster wins. #you shall not pass. Anyway, Bucky volunteers himself to go along with the mission. So Falcon and White Panther arrive to the location, and since they get along like oil and water, they decide to take different routes to approach the target. After realizing they're outnumbered and there's a hostage, they decide to work together. Bucky discovers the vaccines in one of the vehicles, but more importantly, that he got played. The hostage is basically another super soldier. An epic battle on the roof of moving trailers ensues with a team of super soldiers and Enter Diet Cap and Lemar. This is how I wrote it. Okay. Anyway, they do intros like a 90s buddy cop movie, and after the fight, Diet Cap and Lemar file for workers' comp after getting their asses handed to them. We find Buxom walking down the road after their Hail Mary recovery. Cap Zero tries to chat them up and offers them a ride, which they reluctantly take and are forced to have a cringy conversation. Cut to dark, secluded building, and we see the soldiers are given a safe haven. Carly, the hostage from the truck, is revealed to be a major voice within the group whom wants things to go back to how they were during the blip. Cut to Buxom having a convo on the plane, which leads them to flying to yet another location so Bucky can introduce Sam to Isaiah Bradley, a very angry Isaiah Bradley. He's revealed to be another super soldier from back in the day who was in prison for 30 years, tested on and had his blood taken and treated inhumanely by going into his cell with no regard for his service or his rights. He basically existed during Cap's golden era. Anyway, Isaiah is furious about all of this and they get kicked out, and Sam is pissed about this well-kept secret. They continue to argue, and immediately the cops show up to challenge Sam, who is AWB, Angry While Black. Had he not been an Avenger, you already know. The cops arrest Bucky since he had a warrant out for his missing court-mandated therapy. Moving on, Cap Zero bails out Bucky by using his connections, then Buxom involuntarily gets enrolled into emergency couples therapy. After the staring contest, they have a debate about Sam giving up the shield. Bucky feels that Sam betrayed Steve's trust, and that decision makes Bucky reflect on himself. Clearly, they both have hang-ups, so it doesn't end well, and they leave. Enter Cap Zero and Lemar Hoskins in the parking lot, who give intel on Carly and the Flag Smashers. That sounds like a band name, which he delivers in the most condescending way possible and pretty much threatens them. Cut to an airport where KFS, as I'm calling them, they're loading supplies and being pursued by the Power Broker's men. Matthias has a standoff with the pursuers and is subsequently gunned down. Back to Buxom. After a quick chat about Walker, they work things out enough to be on the same page about their next move. This leads I'm sorry. Oh, I need to drink water. This leads them to cashing in all those Sky miles that they've been racking up this entire episode to go off and pay a visit to Zemo, Fade to Black. And I'm done. That's all I got.
I just want to throw in there real quick. I've been putting in the hashtags in the chat. So if you guys want to go ahead and put those hashtags out there, Buxom, Cap Zero, we got actually the Diet Cap. Feel free to use those.
Buck Sam is because rather than saying Bucky and Sam all the time, it's like Buxom.
Oh, I thought you were saying Buxom in like a very
because Sam Keith sounded weird. Sam.
You're getting a completely different image right from that right now.
Exactly.
Everyone's gone in other places.
I thought Bleeku, hey, and I'm not judging. I'm just saying I was just sort of like, okay, Bleeku. I mean, hey, you're just like, you're calling it like it is. You're like, yeah, I like me some Buck. Okay.
Well, no.
Children, this conversation is safe. Come back.
I told you, couples counseling. It's like a bromance that's not really a bromance because they're beefing all the time. They can't agree on anything. Not really. Hey, I hit the major plot points.
You did.
I saw that.
You did. You were good. You were good.
Yeah. So going back to the beginning, with that locker room scene, John Walker. I'm gonna say something. I was talking to my wife Ashley earlier about it, and this is gonna be a little bit of a stinger for some people, but there shouldn't be that much beef with John Walker right now because he hadn't done anything wrong.
Excuse me.
I actually agree. I mean, the thing is comic book fans, we know John Walker, so we know what he stands for. We know what he's eventually going to do or be in this role. He's not meant to fit Captain America at all. That's the whole point of his character. But he hasn't done anything wrong yet. So all the hate is done because, oh my God, this feels wrong. But what has he actually done other than serve his country like he wants to? Because this is coming from the government.
There were a couple of microaggressions that I saw early on. But overall, like the people that have pitchforks and stuff, I don't like him because he's not Cap in the show. And I want to get that out because there are people right now that are like tormenting this actor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh no, it's just I'm not mad at the actor.
No. And I know you're not. I just wanted to get that out because people are watching. And if you're out there being incelly and sending this man death threats and stuff like that, you should go jump in a
They have been.
So yeah. But I've noticed there's been a couple of little microaggressions that could be triggering, especially coming from where Sam and Bucky have been. You know what I'm saying? They both were blipped. You know what I'm saying? And they gave their lives, and it's now like this guy coming in like
being
I'm the man. So I can see why. But overall, you don't really need to start hating him until maybe this next episode.
Exactly.
And my hot take on that is actually when he was introduced, they write him in such a fashion, and they put keywords in there that make you want to hate him, like stuff like, hey, Cap was a brother to me. That kind of stuff is meant intentionally to make you be like, I can't stand. But if you look at him solely from the perspective of just as somebody who has been put into a position by this organization to be, hey, you're the new Captain America, we're putting you out there. I mean, he's a tool just like a lot of other people he's just a cog in the wheel. And so I did appreciate his introduction. And I did appreciate actually that they layered him with insecurity. They layered him with, a certain amount of like, hey, I do want to help. I genuinely do want to help. Now, obviously, there may be an undercurrent later on, and maybe perhaps some stuff that has to be revealed. But at least as an introduction right now, he comes off as a guy that's just like, man, I mean, he's the locker room scene where he's there and practicing his speech. Imagine, if you will, it's just like anything else. Imagine, if you will, if Superman died, and I'm sorry, I'm going to the other side of the pond. Superman dies, somebody else comes in and says they're Superman. Everybody's going to be like, no, you ain't.
Yeah,
and that's the way it is. He's so iconic that it just is hard for anybody else to embody that, and for him to come in, he in earnest in that episode, he earnestly tries to ask, extend the hand to Bucky and to Falcon. And Falcon, they're dealing with their own issues with the legacy. So it doesn't squarely, he is part of the issue for them, but it really isn't stemming from him. It's stemming from, their own issues with that legacy and what that means and what it means to carry the shield. So I mean, Cap Zero is, he's a dude, and we got to give him a chance to see whether or not he's a bad dude or a good dude.
Well, and even as a writer, I'm always looking for the metaphors. We talked about some last time as well, and he's that kid that went to the military. He's doing everything he thinks the right way, the way that he's been trained to do. So from that end, I see, and just watching how it's developed now to where maybe he's not worthy to carry the shield, but they're going to drag him out. So he's got like some, he's got pressure coming from different angles, not to mention the pressure that he's putting on himself.
Let's talk about real quick. So I've seen a bunch of, while we're on John Walker, a bunch of people talking about, what makes him special. And, they briefly touched on it when she gave her, the reporter gave her recap when they were on stage. He is not an enhanced individual, obviously, but he is what you would refer to as peak human. And when they touch on that, MIT studied his body and he was off the charts. So imagine, if you will, in that frame of his, the strength of a Half-Thor Bjornsson, aka the Mountain, from Game of Thrones, kind of, and the speed of a Usain Bolt. That's in general what we talk about as peak human. So he possesses a lot of those qualities, and obviously he's got insane accuracy with that shield. Maybe taking those reps as a QB helped that, being undefeated apparently, leading his team. But just wanted to throw that in there real quick.
I still remember a long time ago when the character was introduced. It was about the mid 80s when Marvel was doing this initiative of changing up their main heroes a bit, and one of them was Steve Rogers was basically asked by a committee to do government sanctioned activities as opposed to being a full-time superhero, which is, and basically, okay, we want you to go find this person and kill them, or find this camp and blow it up. Back when such things were pretty prevalent during the 80s with Grenada invasions and things like that under the Reagan administration. But they introduced John Walker, meanwhile, as this character. He's the U.S. agent, and they were like grooming him to possibly take over if something ever happened to Steve Rogers. And he really did just have a mentality of, I just want to go out, do my job. And eventually Steve decides to walk away from the role of Captain America, and sees Tony Stark gets a new shield and becomes the captain instead, and the role is passed to John Walker. And also maybe get Battlestar in the interim as well. And he goes and becomes the kind of Captain America that the government wants. So
somebody got some pizza.
Yeah, apparently, and I do not. I didn't invite anybody over. Anyway, but yeah, my point is basically he really is just a guy who wants to go out and do well. Eventually, and this is like I said, this is back in the '80s, so you already know that a lot of stuff's been written in regards to Walker's character. It's like, yeah, maybe he's not the best fit for the job and everything. And I don't hate the guy. I even still with episode 3, which we will talk about a little bit later, I don't entirely hate this guy. Yeah, right. We've not been made to hate him. But yeah, I think it will be interesting to see what's going on. And yeah, I'll let y'all take it. What is this mess? I'll be right back. Y'all.
DoorDash.
Yeah, right.
Get that door.
Everything I need right here.
Get that door. I do want to bring up Isaiah's the cameo with the character Isaiah because he is actually a character from the comics, and I don't think most people were aware of that. His storyline directly comes from a comic book line featuring Dr. Nigel, which we will see in episode 3 as well. Not that I think that these characters are connected in any way. It's just really fun to see that connection coming from the story directly from the comics to the show. But that is a storyline that did happen. I want to say it was the late 70s, about where it was announced that, oh yeah, after Cap was iced, they tried to experiment with a super soldier serum and basically enslaved 300 African American soldiers with Dr. Nigel. And of course they twisted it to make it go, oh, this is a rogue scientist in the government, versus no, this was sanctioned. And I think that that's a very interesting point to bring up, because you should be mad. And seeing Falcon, Anthony Mack, seeing Sam being so angry about it because he wasn't told is the exact way that Steve acted when he was told in the comics. So I just wanted to bring that up because I thought that was interesting. I never thought I would see Isaiah in the movies.
I totally agree with that. I mean, that was we have a little chat going on, and when that happened, I couldn't contain myself. Sitting on the couch at 3:15, 20 a.m. and boom, they knock on the door, and
no, you couldn't because you messaged me.
As soon as you said Isaiah, I was like, "What? Isaiah? They can't mean Bradley." And sure enough, incredibly, they pulled Isaiah Bradley into the mix, and I appreciate what they did in the story. Having read the true storyline, it would have been very terrible for some beloved characters if they did it sequentially in the same order.
Yeah.
When they mentioned that Cap was on ice, and so they sent Isaiah, that would mean that Erskine wasn't involved, which I was relieved because of course we love Dr. Erskine.
Yeah.
But very important. I do believe that we won't. That's not the last we'll see of Isaiah Bradley.
No.
Nor his grandson. Which you don't get that in the scene, but we know that have been following the comics, and it was definitely a very cool. I mean, if I could squeal, I probably would have moment. When I was watching that.
Well, it's one of those things. It's like when we were talking about WandaVision, we were talking about how it can sometimes these comics can be very different than real world aspects, or that like pulling the original comic storyline can sometimes seem out of world like an out of world placement. This is one of those times where those classic comics really did hit on something that's within our own history, within our own culture, and to see it kind of updated and tweaked a tiny bit to fit within the storyline, it creates a seamless, I guess, seamless integration from the comics to the story, to the movies. And it's done in a way that I think a casual MCU fan that's never picked up the comics wouldn't realize. And to me, it just feels like, you know what I mean? Like, it feels like it's something that should intrigue new readers to pick up those older comic books and see what Captain America was really about within the 616, because I feel like his ultimate counterpart, which is not my favorite counterpart, is not is not always the best Cap. And here we're seeing the best. We have the best of that the Captain America crew has to offer.
Right. I agree with most of that. Greg, I feel like I cut you off earlier, so I apologize for that. Go ahead. Say what you want to say.
I just, like, speaking about Isaiah Bradley, and we touched on this last time as well, about, what Black, veterans went through. And so, like, what Isaiah's saying, even though he's saying it within the confines of, just the super serum and being this tested super soldier, but all this stuff he's saying is true. Like, people came back, they were imprisoned for, like when this war on drugs happened. So it's like, I love the way they're taking, like Kelly said, they're taking real things that happened and kind of shedding a light on it, which Marvel's been doing forever, right?
Yeah.
Like the comics. But I just really appreciate that the show is showing that side, because like I said, as a son and a grandson and a nephew of veterans, to see some of the things that they've gone through and how they're, some of their lives ended and everything, I just appreciated them, even though Isaiah Bradley didn't have a long time on screen, they maximized and it was so
is the
powerful.
one thing everybody was talking about.
We felt that.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think it's great that they just acknowledged it, because, with people having an issue with him never being acknowledged at all through all those Cap films, it's kind of like, thank you for that.
Right.
Well, and I'll be honest, I think this is the right time for it. I think had this happened, or had this storyline sort of been explored prior to, I think it wouldn't have had the same impact as it's having right now. I think that we're at a place right now on the social spectrum that it is important, and it's a great story to see. I actually would encourage, to Kelly's point, to anybody actually that has not read Red, White, and Black, that miniseries, pick it up, because it might be
expensive.
Amazing. It might be. I mean,
digital comics right now.
Digital comics also, actually, if you can do that.
Marvel Unlimited has a lot of Captain America, and again, I mean, my thing is Captain America is always touched on the cultural moments, and it's always kind of hit hard. I mean, let's be fair here. Jack Kirby, was a large part of Captain America, and he had no fear in saying what needed to be said during that time, and that's kind of where we're picking this up on. And so it's always like, it's just really funny how I've seen, like, what people who count themselves as casual fans versus hardcore fans, they're all liking the same thing, and they're not like, some of the casual fans aren't realizing this has been touched on before. This isn't new for Captain America. They're gonna hit the hard stuff. They're gonna talk about what's right, and regardless if it makes you uncomfortable. And I think that's what this series is doing.
And I was going to say, Captain America is a product of, I mean, any way you slice it, I know there are people out there, there's a very fringe sort of minority. And I know, actually, I've seen a couple of people respond in posts that they weren't fans of seeing that scene between Bucky, Sam, and the police. And to them, I say, you're looking at Captain America. Captain America, by his existence, is a political character. He is creation was a byproduct of a rallying sort of character during a war. I mean, that's ultimately it's political through and through. So to have this idea that you're just sort of like, well, I want to separate the two. I want the fantastic stuff. I don't want to have to deal with the real world stuff. That doesn't work.
No.
That doesn't exist in this character. This particular one, that doesn't work because Captain America is if anybody, he's the epitome of a character that is political, and what he stands for. And actually, I think it's funny that you brought up actually the point about Kelly about Ultimate Cap, because the way I look at Ultimate Cap, especially with who wrote it, Ultimate Cap is a byproduct of his era, of when he was created, actually, like conceptually. And I think that speaks a lot to Captain America is a very idealized version of America. Ultimate Captain America is really more what we know America is.
I agree with that.
It's interesting seeing those juxtapositions, because you can read Ultimate Captain America and side eye it and be like, yeah, I mean, this is the way we see ourselves. We see ourselves as, oh, we're the moral high ground and all this other stuff. Yeah.
It's one of those things where Ultimate did not understand the true meaning of Captain America, and I think a large part of people nowadays that love to say I love Captain America, they don't quite fully understand it. And that's kind of why I love these movies, because it's giving you that streamline of, no, this is what this comic series is. This is what it's going to touch on. And it might make you uncomfortable.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. That's why I would disagree, because I think Ultimate Captain America is more, like I said, it's more indicative of what it's like the meme that goes around where basically it's I hate to hit the other side of the thing, but there's a Superman, how America sees themselves, and it's a picture of Superman, and how America is a picture of Homelander. That's the reality, and that's what we live with. And having Ultimate Captain America sort of reflect, Ultimate Captain America is a bit of an asshole, and you know what?
I hate him. Yeah,
that's pretty much, I think, intentionally Mark Millar, they wrote him that way.
Okay.
Let's cut to Bleeker real quick. She had something to say for a minute.
No, I was just going to say that I think the reason that people are having such a hard time accepting all of that stuff, even though, yes, it's a part of his story, is because when we watched all these movies, they weren't really addressing that, because the threat was never really like here in America. It was always supernatural, like aliens attacking. What did he say? Aliens, robots, and wizards. Yeah, so it was right. So it's always something that's, it was out of the box. So you weren't really dealing with like daily issues that we would normally see. And so now they're choosing to do that during the show, but people weren't ready for that because that's not what they expected. That's not what we've been seeing throughout the course of the movies. Maybe sprinkled here and there, but I mean, I see where they're coming from, but it's just one of those things where, if you don't know the history of it and you're not familiar with the comics, it's not going to hit you in the same way that it's hitting those of us that have actually done the research and the reading.
I would say that this is pretty much the most Captain America episode without Captain America Steve Rogers being in it.
Right.
We had Isaiah. We see his grandson who will become Patriot eventually. We see John Walker. We see Battlestar, and we get a brief bit of Baron Zemo. And what?
I just said boo.
Okay.
My favorite line. I don't want to cut you off. I just wanted to say my favorite line was when he said Battlestar, and Bucky was like, "Stop the car."
Stop the car. Yeah.
Like I'm done.
Yeah. So I mean, but like that scene, and I tried to get my hands on a copy of Truth, Red, White, and Black, and naturally, if you look on eBay, I think it's like $20 to $40 per issue, and I've been trying to find just even a trade collection. It's not there, and it just really had hit me. It's like Marvel practically forgot that this thing existed. The storyline of Isaiah existing, like basically the the super soldier equivalent of the Tuskegee experiment.
Yeah.
And at the time when this comic came out, people were mad, so mad when that comic came out. They were like, "What is?" And naturally, blurred type people like, this is cool. So, and they didn't, and they just never really touched on it. But I mean, you hear sprinkle on it, but they didn't really amp it up like, hey, check out this graphic novel about Isaiah Bradley. They never really amped it up like they would say Infinity Gauntlet itself or something like that. So yeah, just the fact that they actually had this man, that's just how powerful it is, because like it's been so long since we even thought about that particular issue, and into this guiding into the history of what Steve wound up getting as a result. So yeah, it was beautiful, and yeah, I literally right after I watched it, I put it on my Facebook. I couldn't talk. I could not speak after that episode was over. But yeah, the episode is actually very good. We touching upon the other characters, they are laying. I think if you really look around the MCU a bit, I think they're kind of laying groundwork for a possible Young Avengers eventually. Just little pieces, because now we have Patriots sitting there, but you have other characters that are slightly going to pop up, and I have a very funny feeling, as Kevin Feige is long known doing, he's good at playing that long game and making it pay off each time. And I'm looking forward to it. What it'll come out, what that will come out to. And actually, I think there will be another issue, but I won't let y'all talk about more. But there's another issue I think will come out after this series is over. But I yield to y'all.
Can I just address? I'm sorry, one more thing, because Kevin in the comments mentioned that about Black Falcon.
I love that scene. I loved it.
I purposely left it out so we could talk about it, because
oh my god,
I just kind of thought it needed to be addressed. It is a very common thing that why isn't he just Falcon? Why is he Black Falcon? And so
that's a super friend.
So what do people call you, kid, black kid? So
of course that my deal was, of course they call that kid Black Kid, and like, what's wrong with being called Black Falcon? You know what I'm saying? So I had like the opposite reaction. I know a lot of people were the other way.
I loved it.
Well, no, I can see it both ways, but it's just one of those things where it's like you have to like qualify it saying Black Falcon when nobody calls him that. It's like the Falcon, not the Black Falcon. So you are identifying him with his ethnicity rather than just his role as an Avenger.
Black Lightning.
Yeah, wait, is this one black. Of those? Is this one of those? Black Greg, call me Black Greg.
Is this one of those weird sort of like
in the name, I guess.
What's the thing when stuff in history changes and people think somebody moves something? It's a Mandela effect. Because I'm really racking my brain as I'm listening to this conversation, and I'm like, he's always been the Falcon.
Yeah.
When you talk about Black Falcon, he's always been the Falcon. So Black Panther, yes, there's always been black, but the Falcon's always been the Falcon.
Yeah, but he literally wears black. I mean,
well,
like Black
that's
Panther.
true.
His original costume wasn't. His original costume's red, or like it's like a rusty orange.
Falcon was red
but
and white.
His iconic one is.
Yeah, it's always been red and white. No black to it.
And weird.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm trying to remember. So am I remembering wrong? He used to be called the Black Falcon?
No.
Okay.
No.
It was just a thing that they just threw in just to make a point.
That his dad called him the Black.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. That's why I was just sort of like, wait. What?
Yeah.
But people have people have called him Black Falcon, and it is a play on the skin color, because I think this is more of a classic comic trope where he's been commonly misidentified as Black Falcon, and it is a play on. I mean, in fairness, like for those fans were calling him that, were basically showing off racial microaggressions without realizing it.
Yeah.
And so that's, but no, he's always been the Falcon. He's always had that rust orange / red, white, sometimes gold costume. That like MC2 time, Spider-Girl time, there's characters that play off of his costume called the Lady Hawks, and they're badass. So
interesting.
That.
No, when I said black, I was talking about Black Panther. Like his outfit is black.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because I'm like, that makes sense. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. It was like when you were saying that. I think I misunderstood of you saying, "Oh no, Falcon's costume's been black," and I was like, "No, only in the movies."
I misunderstood because I was just like I said, I honestly thought this was a Mandela effect Berenstein situation where I was just like, wait a second, it's always been Falcon, hasn't it?
I do need one thing that I do need to see, and like I said before, I don't think they're done with Isaiah Bradley, but
not by a long shot.
I feel like I need to see Isaiah Bradley versus Bucky, in South Korea. I need to see that fight. I mean,
that would be really cool.
Really, I mean, you took his arm.
Apparently,
he wanted to see if it grew back. Like that's gangster right there.
That sounds like something that my grandfather would say. Also, I want to see if that arm grew back.
Like, calm down, Granddad.
well, too, I also want to mention that they made him come from the Korean War, and that's a war that largely America likes to forget. As my grandfather, my mom's dad was from the Korean War, and I remember we took her to see the memorials, and she got mad that the Vietnam Memorial has everybody's names. The Korean War Memorial is just statues of
really
nameless soldiers. It has no names. There are no names for that at all. No, and so that's also something that I think was a great writer's point for this episode to say, he's from a forgotten war.
Yeah, my dad fought in Korea too. I'm like, wow, I'm glad he doesn't know that. Well, because he never will. Oh man. But yeah.
You all right?
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm cool. It's cool, and I'm straight. I'm straight. Well, I mean, just being hit with that little amount, I'm straight. I promise.
Yeah.
Sorry. But yeah. And there was one other scene that oh yes, the bit where the cops showed up to get Sam basically for yelling at Bucky. I'm like, wow, they actually put that all in one micro. And it reminded me, somebody had recently shown this picture where Sam, it's from the comic book, where Sam was in jail and Steve was like, yeah, y'all just busted this guy, and he was chasing other people that were getting away, and y'all, this is all your fault. And so it made me think of that particular scene. And I don't know if the writers here were specifically going for that specific scene from the comic books, but it's like, yeah, it's just another day for stuff he goes through.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier when some people were complaining about it being political, which that's not political. I mean, that's life.
That's for real.
Every day for me.
I think a few of us can really recount stories where we've had unnecessary run-ins, but I don't want to dive down that hole right now.
Later.
Yeah, it's not that type of stream.
Can we take a quick second to mention Carly in that second episode? I came out of that episode Team Carly. Y'all can be mad at me if you want to. I don't care.
No.
I wanted to double back because in speaking about Bucky getting whooped by Isaiah. I mean, we just saw him get whooped by Carly when she put the doe-eyed joke on him.
I think I found a hostage.
I mean, she played like damsel in distress, not really, but they just misread it.
Their head on a swivel.
But he didn't expect it.
Check it out. When that truck behind them was the bad guys too, and they didn't do anything. That should have tipped him off. He should have been like, something's fishy here. Yeah. I just broke in here. They just chilling, driving.
They were in there like, yo, watch this.
Somebody's probably in the back with like their phone, like, watch this. He got whooped in the truck, to the top of the truck, and on top of the truck.
Oh, and also, actually, just real quick, our RIP Red Wing.
I know Red Wing. Oh, he's like, I always wanted to do that.
Yeah, but Red Wing was low key snitching though. So
he was a snitch.
That's true.
Right.
I don't really care.
Snitches don't get stitches; they get Annihilated.
They get the D and split in half. But now Red Wing is well, hopefully, maybe he'll get a more an AI that's a little bit more intuitive.
Has integrity.
Yeah, maybe
and it'll be called Blackbird.
Blackbird.
Black Falcon.
I think the X-Men already got that.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
But I guess before we wrap up and talk about our review for episode 2, going back to the conversation right after meeting Isaiah Bradley, we say conversation, but it was it was Sam screaming at Bucky. But man, we know that Bucky has a lot of baggage. Ooh. But this is just another layer of another secret that he had to keep that must have been tearing him up. Mm-hmm. And this is stuff that, as the Winter Soldier being, mind wiped, that he couldn't address. But now that he's Bucky, he has to deal with the weight of those secrets. And it's just like another, almost Stark level, secret there that's just out there. And, glad that Cap didn't know because he was on ice, but it's a terrible secret for him to have to keep. So yeah, he definitely needs that therapy for sure.
He need that serum to carry all that baggage too, because that's some dark stuff.
Yeah.
I love the fact, actually, and before we jump into, because I know we're going to switch over to episode 2, I do want to say that actually the appreciation I have for these 2 shows right now, for WandaVision and now for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, is that Marvel has always prided themselves on this is the world outside your window. That's always been sort of like their moniker when it comes actually to how they write comic books. But I love the fact that if you whittle it down, if you whittle WandaVision down, even with all the theatrics and all this twist, that show was about grief. And coming back. That's a real emotion. That's a real thing. That's something that everybody deals with. The fact that this show so far is dealing with actually again, another theme of racism, of sort of entitlement, of this group going out and basically saying, hey, we want things to go back to the way the world was before the blip. And really, it's a situation in which you sort of look at that and you're just like, and this is the villain. It's interesting that they're positioning that way. It makes you think, and it just, I can appreciate that, and it makes me appreciate even more the other shows coming, because even though maybe perhaps I wasn't as enthused about this particular show, like I was going to watch it, but I wasn't as like WandaVision was the one I was like, yes, I want to watch. And What If? As these shows are going now, I'm like, man, right, like these are like really like this long form storytelling is giving them the opportunity to write some amazing stuff and really layered stuff and layer characters. And it's awesome.
So there's something that has to be said for watching these guys try to be functional adults while dealing with all this PTSD. You know what I'm saying? Because even Sam, Sam reminds me more of like that military guy that hasn't figured it all out yet. So it's like he's constantly getting slapped in the face, but he's still like loyal and faithful. But he's dealing with a lot as well. The whole blip thing, and then having to come back right into battle, and then you lose Cap. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot. They're dealing with a lot, and I like the way that they're showing. When we see what happens with a lot of our soldiers that come back from war and stuff like that, this might even be something that makes them, feel a little bit better. I don't know.
Right. Well, piggybacking on that, we'll go from left to right. We'll start with you, Greg, Mo, Darius, Bliku, and then Kelly. Let's just go ahead and give our review, I guess in letter form, and if you want to add a quick comment about review on episode 2.
I can see everybody start.
What's our scale again? Because last time the scale got.
Yeah,
people gonna be like, people gonna be putting in like if from a scale of 2 ounces to 10 pounds.
Right.
That's why I say letter grade, because we
gun bag to ounce. We're doing letter grades.
Yeah.
I think episode 2 was my favorite so far, so I would have to give it like a solid A.
All right.
Maybe I don't want to do the scale thing. Yeah, I'm going off of my scale. I'm not scaling based on the show. I would give it a solid A.
All right, Mo.
Same here, solid A. One thing that I can appreciate a lot in this episode we didn't get to talk about was the banter. The banter was on point. So a solid A. This episode had so much.
Oh, we still got time to talk about the banner because we got episode 3 coming up. So, all right, Darius.
Definitely an A. Like I said, this thing made me sit for like 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes speechless. And nothing MCU has actually done that to me before. Maybe the on your left thing in Endgame, and that's about it. Excuse me. And also, I want to talk a little bit about. We didn't get to it yet, but the stuff with the villains, the Flag Smashers, and apparently there's some other player that we haven't really seen yet, but apparently that's really got an impact on what's going on here. We kind of see with what happens to one of the Flag Smashers near the end of the episode.
Right.
So there's like, okay, there's a shadow thing and I'm pretty sure it's the same person we're going to talk about a bit in episode 3. So
exactly.
This it hit me too hard not to give it an A.
All right, Liku.
I'd give it an A, solid A.
All right, and Kelly.
Solid A, just A's across the board so far.
Yeah, I think we're all in consensus. A on that. I think the banter, the action, and definitely the social undertones, all of that stuff make it a very rich episode. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and get into episode 3, the Power Broker, and Greg is gonna hit us with that quick recap on there.
Yeah, I'm about to truncate my truncated recap because I really like getting into the discussion. So the Power Broker, who I actually know who it is already, and I'm not going to tell everybody because I want to avoid some public humiliation. I will tell Liku and then have her seal it, and then she'll say, Greg was right all along, at the end.
Am I going to do the trap remix? Okay, sorry.
So, Bucky basically helps Zemo escape from Gwinnett County. I mean, a German prison. A German prison. They head to Madripoor. And I have to shout this out because we are MCU ATL, and Atlanta has like a really big presence in all these shows. Yeah. So I don't know about you guys. It was 3-something in the morning when I saw the Krog Street Tunnel Atlantic icon, and I was screaming. Yes. I'm not going to say the words because there was some cussing in there. 5-3, stand up.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
If there were ghosts in my room, they were probably judging me, but still,
or partying with you.
Yeah, definitely, because that was an amazing scene for me, guys. As much as I love that tunnel. So if you guys ever come to Atlanta, or if you're in Atlanta and you haven't checked out the Krog Street Tunnel, drive through there. It's a lot more. It looks more dangerous than it actually is.
Yeah.
As long as it's not raining hard, because then you get caught with the flood. All right. So they're in Madripoor. Some certain things happen. I don't really want to talk about those. They get into a little bit of trouble. Zemo, Bucky, or Buxam. I'm sorry, I'm going to use that. Zemo and Buxam get into a little bit of trouble, and out of nowhere comes Sharon, who is the agent you guys should know, and Sharon pretty much saves the day. They go to the good side of town and find out that Sharon is now an international black market art dealer. She makes them dress up and they go to a party scene that nothing actually happens. But Yeah. So then, they get a lead on, is it Nigel? Is how we're saying the name? Nigel, right?
Nagel, I think.
Dr. Nigel, who's
Nagel. Yeah.
One of those. Yeah. Who's actually responsible for producing this new wave of super serum that the Flag Smashers have. So they run up on him. I think this was my favorite part of the episode because Buck Sam and I can't say it without laughing. Buck Sam and Zemo, they press upon Mr. Nagel while Sharon stands outside and proceeds to open up a can of whoop ass on
it was beautiful.
Bunch of bounty hunters. Favorite part because he was just breaking them down. Beautiful, and it was good pacing with the action scene. And then we didn't see Carly as much. We did realize that it looks like she does have a soul, which kind of made me upset for a minute because I wanted her to just be a thug. But she does have a soul. There's more to her story than just being a terrorist. But then she quickly shows us that she stepped her level of terrorism up by doing something. One of the most egregious things that we've seen. Definitely on this show and possibly in the MCU. Like we don't see a lot of that. But I think it was cool. I'm still Team Carly, by the way. And then there was a really, really cool cameo. So I'm not going to lie to you guys, and I know we're not grading it just yet. This is my least favorite episode all the way around. There were some really high points that I enjoyed. But at the end, the cameo that we're going to talk about soon probably, made it for me to where it's like, okay, when's that next episode coming out? So yeah, that's my quick recap, and we can get into chopping it up.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start with how we're introduced at the very beginning with the GRC, the Global Repatriation Council. We see that very, very poorly done PSA in which they emphasize rest, restore, rebuild, or restore, rebuild. And we see that juxtaposed with immediately one of the vehicles with the same logo coming out, and here comes Cap Zero leading the squad and coming in there and trying to kick ass and take names. And I think that that's one of those, as we mentioned before, America, how we would like to be. I guess it's Steve Rogers versus America as we are. and that just seems very American, especially down to the guy in the Spangly outfit with the A's all over it saying, "Do you know who I am?"
Man, listen, that was so triggering when he said that. I'm like, did he really just do that? Are you trying to make me hate you more? I don't know.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Think about the frustration from his standpoint, though. Again, it's like, I'm trying to do my best and do what, I've been told is right. And these guys don't like me. That happens to our soldiers when they go over, like, they get told that they're going to be a savior and people view them as the oppressor. And so, you got to understand, that stuff triggers a lot for, soldiers. What's wrong? That stuff can trigger, like well-meaning people a lot of times, right? So
yeah. And I think actually there is something to be said about in the military and just overall, there is an idea that you have to have sort of like a alpha type of personality and an alpha type of. So when you say lines like that to somebody, you're like, "Do you know who I am?" It's just there is an intimidation piece of it that's played into it, that plays into the character. Now, the character in the comic books, John Walker, is to some degree a more extreme version of Captain America. He doesn't, but again, let's not forget about the fact that Captain America is still Captain America. Captain America will decapitate a vampire with no problem with their shield. So that's the reality. That's canon. That happens. Just letting you know. So he does have to have that kind of bravado, and that's why when he steps and when he breaks in there and he's just sort of like, "Do you know who I am?" The guy spits on him and all this other stuff. Is that my first, like me as a viewer, my first reaction is, would I see Captain America, Chris Evans, like if Chris Evans was in that scene and Captain America did that, would he have had the same, "Hey, are we going to go, do you know who I am?" Probably not. Would he try something else that's a little bit more intimidating, like a different type of like tactic to push him? Yeah, because remember, if you go to the scene in we're dealing with terrorists in this case, or terrorist sympathizers, terrorist enablers, whatever the case is. If you think about that in the context of Age of Ultron, when Sam and Cap, Scarlet Witch, they're all going against those, Crossbone's team. How they go in there, I mean, Cap is busting skulls like it's going out of style. Like there is no. No, he is going in
What
there.
was that?
No, he's not doing that. He's throwing people against walls. He's just like, he's busting people up. So again, I think it's important for people to know that actually, and I say this, I think I'm everybody else is gone. I think I'm talking to Bliku specifically.
Uh-oh.
I think unfortunately you're not going to. Yes, I am, because I know how you felt about that scene. I don't even have to talk. That I think actually that if it was Captain America, not Captain America Cap Zero, I think actually that scene would have felt differently to the audience. Whereas when we see the scene, I think actually you would have been like, "Oh man, what a douche."
Stretch out.
Uh-oh.
Listen, first of all, Cap would not have entered the scene in that way. Okay, he wouldn't have even said that line. Do you know who I am? Because the thing is, he doesn't need to intimidate people with his words. He just comes in kicking ass. Number one. Number two, he was way more humbled than this dude. And I feel like that came from more of a position of entitlement than intimidation. So I don't agree with that at all. Yeah, it would have been handled differently. He just had a different mentality. He had a different skill set. This dude has not ever been like, yes, he was in the military, sure enough, but he's never been in this kind of situation with that kind of platform, that kind of notoriety. And he's trying to like kind of ride off of that same wave that, Steve left behind. But you can't do that because you're not Steve. You can do the same or try to do the same stuff that Steve did, but you can't. Don't do that. I'm sorry.
So I agree with you on that part, yes. But I do also want to say the only reason Steve wouldn't come in and say, "Do you know who I am?" is because he literally spent his time on ice for 45, 50 years on ice before coming back. And by that point, he had become this myth. And the way the government is looking at it, and the way some of the American people after the blip is looking at it, is this man is filling this myth's shoes. That Captain America is bigger than just a man. And Walker is playing that role to keep that myth alive. And that's the situation. And so like you're already seeing Walker's kind of frustration because he's not getting the respect he thinks he should be getting for being in the suit, because like you as the audience member, you want him to earn your respect. But he thinks he already deserves it because he is playing the role. Yeah.
But he, like you say, he has not earned that. And so that's why I say that it's entitlement. You feel like you're entitled to people's like loyalty because you're wearing the suit. Anybody can put that suit on. It doesn't make them Captain America.
And I think entitlement comes in. I viewed that when he made that statement, I viewed that as insecurity more than anything, because he's walking in like, I got the suit on. Look at this, you know. But again, that the other people don't view America the way Americans think that we're viewed. You know, we're taught that we're the creme de la creme, all of that. And especially coming off of the blip, and now these people are like, imagine having starving, hungry people, and then 50% of the population reboots back onto the, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So these people are living like horrible times. I don't care about your suit. If Steve Rogers would have walked in there with that same type of energy, that dude probably wouldn't have cared about him either. Exactly. But it's just the difference, like Mo said, and like Bliku said, like Cap would have, you know, probably came in there and let them know, I'm gonna let you know who I am, instead of like thinking
like I'm gonna show you instead of telling you.
Right.
Yeah.
But I laughed when that dude spit in his face, because I don't like Cap Zero. Me and Cap Zero, we ain't cool right now.
Zero ain't my hero.
Go ahead.
I'll say honestly, the thing that kind of impressed me more about this episode was I finally got to see more of Zemo, and I was very happy and sad in that in this respect. Zemo to me has been one of my 5 favorite villains possibly in the MCU. He did the one thing that nobody's ever done. He has a man with no superpowers who destroyed the Avengers single-handedly, and I've always been impressed by that. He, Thanos, and Kingpin have been my 3 favorites. But that one feat basically topped a lot of other people. So when we see him, and literally he really didn't do anything except tell Bucky, pass a note, and after that went to work, got out, and we see these vast resources he's had the whole time. And they actually do, instead of calling him Colonel Zemo, he's back to being, they actually make him Baron Zemo. And I'm like, thank you. That was the one phrase I've been wanting to hear for a long time. And it made me happy to see he's got these resources. Hydra's gone, but like he's still got small connections maybe. But his brain is his ultimate weapon. And he's also got very good fighting skills. But it also made me a little sad in that I will never see Steve Rogers, Captain America, fight one-on-one with Baron Zemo. And and as I've become a little used to it, that a lot of the conflicts I wanted in the comics are not going to happen. Like I'll never get to see Iron Man, Tony Stark versus Mandarin or anything like that. I'm slightly at peace with it, but like I'm still a little sad by that. But I'm glad we actually get to see Zemo really go to work, taking Buck Sam. I'm gonna have to get used to calling it that. Thank you, Bliku.
You're welcome.
And he takes them, enters Madripoor. We're seeing these lovely names, Madripoor, Latvia, things like that. We get to see Krog Street Tunnel. Thank you, Brian, for making me remember that. And nice going on you, Greg, for noticing that too. But I was like, thank you, the Krog Street Tunnel. It's home of so much beautiful artwork and so many floods. And then we enter Madripoor, and we see something that I'm very certain at some point we're going to see cosplayers doing. We get to see Zemo dance skills. I guarantee somebody's going to be emulating that during DragonCon.
Yes.
Leonard, were you the choreographer? Like,
I know, right? He's trying to give y'all a preview.
Listen, I mean, all right. So going back to that whole Zemo situation, I was once again talking to Ashley this morning, and between the villains of the show, we got the Flag Smashers, we have Zemo, but we don't hate them. We hate John Walker, and but one of the things that I like that I think they subtly set up with the Machiavelli book that he's reading, the whole ends justify the means theme. We see that everybody is bending the rules in order to accomplish their goals. John Walker just wants a win. Of course, Zemo wants to eliminate, superheroes, and we see all that stuff. But one person who's just kind of, he tries to be the voice of the reason, but he ends up going on is Sam. I feel like Sam doesn't have that mentality as much as everybody else, and which makes him more worthy of that shield, as a character. So I wanted to point that out. And of course that whole scene, the whole banter thing, Bucky posing the hypothetical, and Sam is like, "What did you do?" I think, was it you, Darius? What was that? 10 minutes ago, we were talking about the banner, or was it you, Mo? I can't remember.
I think it was probably banter.
But yeah, the banter in this show really gives it a lot of great flavor. So I've been appreciating that. It's like you get angry at the social issues, but then you get excited about the fights and the action, and then you laugh at the banter. So it's great. It's a great mixture.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, Bleak, go ahead. You're good.
No, I was gonna say, can we talk about something that's probably petty, but I don't care.
Here we go.
Falcon, Sam, whatever. The best line in the episode was when he was like, "I can't run in these heels." I just want to say, I strongly identify with that man in that moment. Okay, that is a special skill set. And the fact that he pulled that off, I respect him even more now.
I have always respected women for being able to run in the field like that. I'm just like, how do y'all do that?
I mean, that's a skill.
I think the Boondocks actually had an episode where they explained, Darius, in case you want to check that out, why they run so well with the heels.
All right, so
that doesn't apply to everybody, though.
We're skipping over something that I definitely wanted to acknowledge also, being that the episode aired yesterday, April 2nd, and it had a very strong conversational piece between Zemo and Sam and Bucky about Trouble Man and Marvin Gaye on Marvin Gaye's birthday. So I don't know. I mean, come on, it can't be a coincidence.
No, they planned it. They planned it.
They had to, right? Because I was just like, wow, because it was just I mean, yesterday was a great day for music because of that, and the Maxwell, the artist, R&B artist, is a big Marvin Gaye fan, and it was the 25th anniversary of Urban Hang Suite, so it was definitely a musical day yesterday. And then checking that out, I was like, okay, this is great, because music and comic culture and is intersecting and is great. But that was just yeah, he's out of line, but he's not wrong. That was great.
He's out of line, but he's not wrong.
All right, so I kind of want to go back to the running on heels thing, because that was an excellent way to talk about the fact that one of the things that have really upset me about the movies was how Sharon Carter was done dirty. Agent 13 is one of my favorite characters of all Marvel, and the movies did her dirty, mostly because I think too many people were just upset they didn't want to see Peggy without Cap, and vice versa, even though Sharon and Cap are OTP. But here we finally get to see Sharon, at least a fraction of the Sharon we know from the comics, and I really, really appreciate it, because she is kind of a distrusting, vengeful, spy. And so here she is an ex-spy, but she's using those skills to her advantage to still thrive when she really did get screwed over. I think she got screwed over worse than everybody else from that deal from Winter Soldier, because she's still exiled even after the blip. She didn't get pardoned. She didn't get a chance to see her family during that time, we don't know if she blipped out or if she had to survive these last 5 years not knowing anything about her family.
I think she survived. I think that's the impression, is that she was around. Like she didn't say that she was blipped out. I think she was around.
Yeah, there's one thing I've been wondering about that. I was just
I was just gonna say, just basically, she got to actually be the badass that we thought she was going to be in those movies, finally. And it made me really, really miss the fact that Steve is not here to see the whole Captain America crew.
Two things on that. One, I was kind of surprised Nick Fury didn't get her pardoned. When they mentioned that about her, I was like, wait, nobody did that for her?
No.
It was
gone during the blip. I'm pretty sure.
He's gone during the blip, but even after that, after coming back,
he was. I think he was he wasn't part of SHIELD, because remember, actually, if it chronologically, if you're talking about actually Civil War and Age of Ultron, I don't think he was in the ends with after Winter Soldier. I think he was on the outs with SHIELD.
Yeah, so like even after Endgame, like this takes place after Endgame, and apparently Nick Fury is
after
still
Endgame, he's up in space right now.
Yeah.
Nick Fury came back and he left. He came back and he was just like, this planet is garbage. People are trash. This planet is garbage. I'm going up to space.
And I still keep thinking about my other thing. Like I still keep thinking about the scene where from I guess it's Civil War, where Sharon kisses Steve, and Sam and Bucky are just sitting there. Yeah. My boy finally getting some after 70 years. So that part just always cracks me up. But yeah, I was very much with you. I was happy to finally see, Agent 13 just kicking butt. She's like breaking down piece by piece by piece. I think Greg, you were mentioning that part, like taking these guys out one by one, and we're like, damn.
Yeah, Greg said that it was a can of kick ass or whoop ass, but that is actually a Sam's Club case.
That was a full on. It was a pallet. It was a pallet of whoop ass in there. And I will say, I do also, again, and I always love focusing in on the little nuances of the story writing, that Sharon is now completely and totally bitter. Like she is just this ideological or Captain America and whatever. She's just like, that's what that is. Yeah. That's her impression of it. And I loved that turn of the character in itself, because in a weird way, even though yes, it would have been great to see that in the other movies, to see Sharon live up to that in the other movies, it almost seems more organic for her to be like that now and match more one-to-one with her comic book, because you sort of get to see this very sort of like this Sharon Carter, who, for lack of a better way of putting it, is a lot more innocent, a lot more, idealistic. And then here we are on the other side of the spectrum, where she's just like, she is that bitter, distrustful, like,
well, they
give her
like an origin story, So maybe this is all the set up stuff later on. I feel like a lot of those people that were side characters in the movies, they're starting to flesh out their stories now. And I think they're going to have bigger parts coming up. And I hope she's one of them, because she is badass. And I love her.
Emily Van Pam bought it. She bought it.
Yeah.
How they're laying the groundwork for this new phase.
Yeah.
So coming off of post blip, everything's not pretty. Like we're getting to see that. So I think, like Mo mentioned it about the last one, it's like now's the time to be able to tell more diverse stories, and it's fitting right in with this new phase where a lot of stuff is post blip. So we can speculate on Sharon, but we don't know what I was about to say cuss words. We don't know what she's been going through these last 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Like it's one thing that you've basically been, you're wanted, your country's not dealing with you, this country that you served, but now you also have to deal, so she's gone through a lot, and I like that you can see it on the character.
Yeah, she served under SHIELD and served under the CIA or FBI was one of the two that actually, after the fall of SHIELD, like she served under both. And even with all of that, she helped Cap during Civil War and Team Cap. And they basically, I almost feel like, in a weird way, it'd be great to see if in the next coming episodes we do get to at least a little bit more of a glimpse of her bitterness, because she's right. And to Darius's point, there are points in there where maybe Nick Fury could have helped, not necessarily obviously with influence, but maybe more with intel and putting her in the right place, or maybe even Cap. Or maybe, now granted, again, Cap was on the run, as well. But I mean, there were probably the fact that she was so disenfranchised. Like, she wasn't part of Cap's group during Infinity War. It wasn't like she was in that little hub in Wakanda. He didn't call her and say, hey, come hang out in Wakanda. That's where everybody's chilling. No, she didn't get that invite, apparently. She's in Madripoor, having to deal with people over there and having to fend for herself. So the fact that there isn't, I don't know whether or not they will explore it, but it'd be great to see that basically she's just like, F you guys just left me and just straight up abandoned me. So and what?
Apparently she's got some small part of this whole conspiracy, because like she gets in and talks to somebody and it's like, we have big problems now. And it's like, where's this going?
We don't know. And I mean, that's a possibility. If she could be a double agent, trying to infiltrate Flag
which
Smashers.
she has been in the past.
She has been in the past. She could wind up being a triple agent. She could wind up just being the bad guy. We have no clue, but we know that she's playing an integral part in the rest of the story. And I'm just excited to actually see her character be something like Sharon Carter, and not just,
the side piece,
blonde girl number 3.
Right.
Like she's been in the movies.
I really, actually, so my theory right now is, if I'm going to just go ahead and actually just speculate a little bit, my theory is actually when she gets in the car and she calls, I thought about actually at one point I thought maybe she was a power broker, but didn't make any sense for her to let the scientists die and to lead them to so I don't think she's a power broker, but I honestly think that that who she called in that time was Mephisto. I'm almost positive.
Yeah, totally.
I needed to sell that. I needed to sell super serious about it, so that way I could sell it. Mephisto.
Speaking of Mephisto, can we talk about the building with the X on it?
Okay, yeah, let's talk about all the X-Men references from Mandapore and the Princess Bar and Brass Monkey, because everyone else on the internet's talking about it, even though I think that they're making mountains out of molehills.
Marvel, they're
hey, y'all learned your lesson after WandaVision.
Apparently not.
No.
Mephisto gonna show up. He's gonna show up. He is the power broker.
Yeah, that let's talk about a frequent visitor to that bar in Smiling Tiger. I was refreshed to not see the typical, oh, hey, we got to lay low, cap, shade, hoodie,
cap, eyes, hoodie, shades.
I thought that was brilliant, the way they just brought like maybe C, D, maybe an E level character into the MCU.
Yeah, like I don't. Who the heck would remember Smiling Tiger from 1992's New Warriors? Because I didn't. I had to be reminded. Although he does look like he kind of has heels, and maybe that's the joke. Because he's a mutated human, like completely. He looks completely inhuman. So this is not the same. So poor Anthony Mackie having to say that he looks just like Smiling Tiger is sad.
That Smiling Tiger must have some abilities to be able to throw back nasty shots like that.
Listen, first of all, we already talked about his first ability. He can run in heels.
Right.
Okay.
He can. It's all that time he's been running against Cap, and Cap is on your left. He needed to up his game, and now he's running in heels.
And that shot, I don't know.
It's like
it was like an echo. I don't know.
Really?
But that shot looked gross. And He and I made that sound at the same time. It was bad.
Yeah, that was terrible. I'm gonna mention also the fact that Zemo in that whole situation, there was just a supreme level of content that he had from the point in which he started pushing Bucky's buttons with the magic words outside of the cell, to stealing his book, and to making him fight. As and speaking in Russian, he just seemed way too happy doing all of that stuff. But honestly, that's part of the reason why I was so amused by his character in the episode. I enjoy watching that man work.
Yeah, so, I would agree with that. Yeah, I would say that actually that he was one of the other bright spots of that episode was seeing him and not seeing him. I love when characters and actors can go ahead and take a role that is meant to be like very like obviously in Civil War he is a character has lost his family, so he's very dour. There is no humor, there is no jokey jokes. In this episode, you get to see a lighter side of him. You get to see actually a little bit of the playfulness, a lot of smug, super smug. And it was great to see that. Plus, I'm a sucker for seeing actually villains play on the hero side, even though maybe perhaps that's not going to be his long-term sort of situation. But because he's also somebody that has led in the comic books the Thunderbolts, and he really ultimately he plays by his own sort of, like if you even in his comic book history, he's really in it for himself. He's his plans are whatever, and he in his own weird way has his own sort of code of ethics when it comes down to it. So it's nice to see Daniel Bruhl play with that. And yes, that little scene in the bar where he's doing the little like sort of like that part of it in itself is worth the price of admission. You just sit there and you're just sort of like, okay, all right, cool. I can see that. I can see that he's just having himself a good old time, at the bar, at the club, the club.
All right, so I guess the last major point of this episode was the Kamoyo Trail, leading to a great cameo, which really excited to see how this is going to play out with AO being at the end of the breadcrumb trail there. Who else was shocked? Because I know I was not expecting that.
I sort of expected it just because we already knew. We know how Wakanda works. We know that when they have an opportunity so they can persecute the killers in their own manner, in their own way, they're going to. How he didn't get extradited to Wakanda in the first place, we'll never really truly know. But
that might have been Everett.
But you know what I mean? Like this makes the most sense out of MCU's past and how they've set up Wakanda. Yeah. So but I think maybe we all expected a different character to show up.
I can sort of see that, but because like the last time we saw Zemo was when T'Challa had him. He's like, the living are not through with you yet, and he wanted to see him. Didn't want to see him die. He wanted to see him get punished and everything, and that might have been an offering to the world for a minute. Like, yeah, he blew up a world conference when he did with what he did, and but like it's at some point, it's like, you did kill my father, so I'm going to get something out of you. So, and but yeah, seeing her pop up, seeing one of the Dora Milaje pop. Is that how you pronounce
Dora
Milaje? Okay, Dora Milaje. Okay, seeing one of them pop up, you're like, oh damn, this is not good. Bucky owes everything to them. He really loves that country and would want to do right by them, but he needs Baron Zemo out right now. Oh damn, this is not going to go well. Just all in that one split shot. And she just says, I'm here for Zemo. Yeah. So it's actually I'm glad that it was not Okoye. I'm glad actually. Well, I mean, I love Okoye. Don't get me wrong, but I'm glad that they actually sent an agent and not their head of security to go do that. Oh, I'm sorry.
I think her character's name is Ao, but I might be mispronouncing it.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Like Ao. So yeah, I'm glad we see this agent sent out there, and we were like, oh boy. So yeah, I'm very much anticipating that. Also, I want to say one other thing. There's something we kind of have skipped over. Nagel, the scientist, is now dead, and he said he had 20 vials of super serum.
Right.
And 7 of them have been used.
Well, 8 of them have been used.
8 of them. Sorry, 8 have been used.
And they all are in the possession of the Flag Smashers right now.
Yeah.
Are they?
Yes. Yes.
So he didn't have any?
Nothing.
Nope.
And if he did, it would be gone anyway now. But
yeah.
I don't know. I have a funny feeling one's gonna pop up. I just something tells me it's gonna somehow pop up. I don't know. That's just this feeling.
Oh yeah, that's a MacGuffin. So yeah, that's definitely gonna be. It's gonna play into somebody gonna get some enhancements pretty soon.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, ooh, I cannot wait till next week.
Right.
Yeah.
So keeping that in mind. Oh, go ahead, Celia.
I was just gonna say that back to what you were saying about like whether or not you saw that coming. With Wakanda showing up to collect Zemo, he referenced it earlier in the episode, and I feel like they don't do anything unintentionally. So that was kind of like to lay the groundwork for that later on without like showing their full hand. And
that's true.
I feel like they did that a couple of times in the episode, like dropping little breadcrumbs, and they'll probably, flesh it out later.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, I'm not gonna lie. When I saw that, that was my squeal moment. Actually, Greg, it wasn't from the last episode. That was my squeal moment here. Actually, I honestly thought, I honestly thought, and I wished it would have been Okoye, just because for the mic drop effect of it, just to be able to just be like, bam, here you go, here's Okoye. Just because she just has a presence about it. I mean, what she did in that movie in Black Panther and in the other subsequent movies, and how she's actually how that character's been interpreted, it just would have been fantastic. And that's not any kind of sort of like side on the actress that's playing Ao. Not at all. Actually, I think it's a really cool, fun callback to Civil War. But I think actually, had it been Okoye, it's just like, I mean, like, I feel like the impression I have is you send somebody else, under Okoye to go pick up Bucky. I automatically, even from a narrative perspective, I'm like, but you're not going to get him because you're not serious about this. Had you sent Okoye, I would have been like, oh wait, hold on, like this can turn the episode any which way because you're being serious about this. So that's the reason why actually that was it didn't cheapen it. It didn't feel it was still a really pleasant surprise, but at the same time I was just like, man, they could have amped it. This could have been the theatro moment of this show. That could have been the theatro moment.
I agree with that, but at the same time, this is also the character that in Civil War said, "Move or be moved."
Oh,
there you go.
So that's why she's there.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying. It's a fun callback to Civil War. I know she was in Civil War. That's what I'm saying. But I mean, actually, but like I said, I feel like if it's one thing to send, hey, like for example, when in Black Panther, if we're going to call back to that, Black Panther, they go looking for Claw. Who goes to get Claw? It's not any Joe Schmo that goes to get Claw. It's Black Panther and Okoye. They're the ones going out to get Claw. So in the same, heck, had you even thrown in there some and her name escapes me right now.
I wanted it to be Shuri. Like that's what I was hoping for.
Yeah.
She has a rapport with Bucky already.
True.
Oh, Shuri. You said Shuri?
Yeah, Shuri.
So that was my thing. I was hoping, like, right when I saw.
Yeah, she's the scientist. So for right now, just
what is the other? Gosh, I can't remember her name now. Black Panther's love interest in the movie.
Nakia.
That would have made sense because again, Nakia is a spy. So this whole show is a spy game. So had she been the person in there, you ever seen that meme of Vince McMahon where it does the three things, the three steps,
God.
and then the last one the eyes are lit up? That's what would have been the case for me.
Whoa, yeah.
Had that been the case, I would have been like, okay, this show is this is it. The show is amazing.
All right. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and wrap up with our reviews of episode 3, The Power Broker, and same order. We'll go with Greg, Mo, Darius, Bliku, and then Kelly. So Greg, kick it off.
Really?
Yes.
All right. So there were some good moments in the show. I thought like I said, this was my least favorite episode so far, and that's by a lot. I feel like there were some pacing things and some lazy things that where it created like a bunch of coincidences. Like I don't care. I'm not afraid of anybody except for maybe Kelly and Bliku, because I mean, but no, man, I would give it like a C. I wasn't like, there was too many parts of the episode where I was like scratching my head, like the Sam impersonating the tiger dude, and it's like nobody recognizes this ain't the dude. Like it was just a lot of stuff.
They took that. I honestly am just shocked that someone had to have just gone through their roster going, do we have any character that could sound cool? Who sounds cool? Oh yeah, this name Smiling Tiger, and it's like the world's worst new warrior.
And then like the phone going off in the scene, it was just some stuff. So I would give it a C, because there were some high moments for me, but there's a few head scratchers in there.
All right, Mo, what you got?
I think I will give this one a minus. Again, I love Daniel Bruhl and what he brought to Zemo in this episode. I liked seeing some landmarks from Atlanta. That was another nice little pleasant plus. I think I would have given it a solid A had it been someone other than Ayo from Wakanda. I think actually that's the one little sort of thing. It was a pleasant little thing to add, but at the same time I was just like, man, you could have brought the A game. You could have just really like buckled down on this, and you stopped just short. The Bronze Tiger stuff actually not Bronze Tiger.
You got it.
Smiling Tiger. I will agree with Greg. I feel like that's one of those things of convenience where they show a picture of Anthony Mackie dressed as the guy and say, "Hey, you look almost like him," and I'm just like, that's convenient. That's a little
problematic.
Yeah, so I can see that part of it. The cell phone going off, I think, is one of those things where again it's almost a cliche that would have happened in that scene, and it would have been his sister, and anybody in the world would have called him, and it was his sister that would have called, and obviously she was going to say something that was going to trigger it. Me personally, had I been in that situation, I would have been like, listen, I told you not to call me anymore. Do not ever call me anymore, and would have hung up. And that would have been the end of the scene. I would have kept my creed. I would have kept my street cred, and I still would have been like, you owe me 40 G's. And the next time you ring my phone, I'm going to go ahead and actually kill you and hang up the phone. Bam. And that's it. And you wouldn't have been found out. But you let her keep talking, and you let the thing unravel. But in summary, A-, still a good episode.
All right, Darius.
I gave an A- as well. I'm happy to see Baron Zemo come out and get developed. Well, we got the return of Sharon Carter and not just as a side piece, but a very interesting woman of mystery, as it turns out. The final scene was wonderful, and also we get to see an interesting side of Carly. Okay, she really is worse than we thought she would be. She up and kills a whole building full of people. Like, oh my goodness. There's a lot, and they're like, it's one of the 2 shows I look forward to every week now. That one and one from the other company. That's it. So yeah, A- here.
All right, Bleaku.
Okay, so I know contrary to whatever Greg said, I'm giving it probably like a B. I feel like a solid B. And that's because honestly, it's just elements that were included in the show that I was excited about, like seeing Sharon come back. Like the jokes and humor stuff were really good. The introduction of the Dora Milaje. And to hit a note on what Mo said, maybe the reason that they had AO is because they didn't have Okoye money. You know what I'm saying? That budget, Okoye is expensive. Okay,
It's Disney. They got that kind of money. Let's sit around.
It's all
let's
about
they were
how
trying
much
to
money
pay
you got,
Okoye money.
It's all about how much money you have budgeted for your show, and I'm sure Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan were, cutting into that. So,
right. So that
Disney
could have been a
probably
part
like,
of that decision. But yeah,
how about we give you AO?
Huh?
Yeah, how about we give you? How about
like,
we need this Dora. We need Okoye. Man, I can't do that, man.
She's recognizable enough for people to place her.
Yeah.
But she didn't cost Okoye money. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Man.
Solid B.
They could have thrown that money in there, man. Come on, Disney. You got that. I know Disney is watching this podcast. I'm gonna go ahead and say that Disney, you got that kind of money. Stop playing around. Stop trying to be like.
That doesn't mean they don't want to keep it.
That's true, but I mean, you could have thrown that in there, man. I'm telling you, would have thrown that in there. Your viewership goes up right away because, again, you tie anything to Black Panther, and you're going to engage an audience that is craving for more of that. The fact that we have to wait 2 years for another Black Panther. Come on.
Okoye is out here killing zombies. She didn't have time to double back.
Yeah, I was about to say, they were gearing up to film the last season of Walking Dead when this was.
Where are they in Snellville? That's what, like 2 hours.
It's out in my area. Thank you.
Film your stuff, please.
No, Mo, they're out there by Westview.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and just jump in that, come down for a couple of hours, and then go ahead and go film your stuff. That's it.
All right. I agree with Bleaku. I give it a solid B. I like the part. I mean, I liked every good part that's there. I do agree with Greg on some things dragged and some things didn't quite hit like they did during the first 2 episodes compared to episode 3, but this also is the building episode to get us to the next part of the story. Also, I kind of am wondering too, if we're seeing AO now, if we're not going to see Okoye later when AO can't get Zemo.
If
and The Walking Dead is over.
Yeah, well, they did wind up. So the thing is, they did. So from the filming standpoint, they were almost done with Falcon and Winter Soldier before COVID went down. They did have to refilm some stuff, and they were trying to film simultaneously here and in Berlin. Walking Dead was setting up pre-production, and they wound up getting delayed, and they started filming only a few months ago for this last season. So I'm not technically there should have not been a scheduling issue for the actress that plays Okoye. However, I don't know what she could have some other thing under her belt that she was dealing with at the time that we don't know that could have caused a scheduling conflict, and that's probably what originally happened here. But who's to say she's also not being held off for later episodes if they're not able to capture Baron Zemo or work out a deal with Bucky for Zemo later. So we have to kind of just watch and see what happens.
Yep. I mean, I guess, but Danae, I know you watching too. Let us know. Like next podcast, let us know what was the situation was. Did Marvel call you? Did they not call you? Danae, just let us know. Let's just give us, give us a holler.
Yeah. All right. So as far as my grade, I'm going to give it a solid B+. I'm going to say it kind of similarly to Greg. It was definitely a solid episode. I enjoyed a lot of stuff, but it definitely was not the level of the first 2 episodes, but not by much. I gave episode 1 an A-, so really close, but a solid B+ on there. And piggybacking on what Mo said, Disney, if you are watching, just send me an email. I want to ask you a few questions. So
let us know.
They're totally going to answer you.
We are not that far away from you. We're not that far away from you,
MCU ATL, and
that's right.
We believe in ourselves.
Absolutely.
Also, don't sit by your computer for a long time, Leonard. Like this.
All right. Well, guys, thank you to everyone who tuned in. Thank you for all you guys who were on the chat, giving us encouragement and statements and quotes. We definitely enjoy doing this for you guys. And once again, thank you guys who rewatched this. Once again, last episode's stream was our most watched. So, hey, maybe I'll get to say this next time as well. But thank you guys again, and we appreciate you. And until next time.
Bye guys.
Take care. But Captain.